Welcome to another evening journey into the gentle mysteries of the mind. Tonight, we drift through a collection of the most soothing psychological truths, facts that will calm your thoughts and ease you toward rest. Each one is a soft revelation, a whisper from the world of science about how beautifully complex and surprisingly simple your mind can be. Some will make you smile, others will make you wonder, but all of them are here to help you relax, to let your busy thoughts settle like snow falling on a quiet field. If you find comfort in these nighttime wanderings, feel free to like and subscribe for more peaceful explorations. But there's no pressure. Tonight is simply about letting go. So settle in, take a slow breath, and allow these gentle truths to wash over you like waves on a distant shore. Let's begin. Your brain uses more energy when you rest than when you focus. It might seem backward, but the brain consumes tremendous energy even when you think you're doing nothing. This network of regions, active during daydreaming and mind-wandering, is called the default mode network. It lights up when you're not focused on the outside world, running through memories, imagining futures, and processing emotions. Scientists discovered this by accident, when brain scans revealed that supposed rest periods were anything but restful for the brain. In fact, this background activity uses about 20% of the body's total energy, despite the brain being only 2% of body weight. So when you feel like you're just sitting quietly, your mind is actually working through an invisible symphony of thoughts, organizing your inner world. Rest, it turns out, is its own kind of labor, a necessary, beautiful kind that happens in the spaces between your conscious efforts. Babies can recognize faces within hours of being born. Even in the first hours of life, newborns show a preference for looking at faces over other patterns. This early ability suggests that face recognition is deeply wired into human biology. Studies show that babies will track a simple face-like pattern, 2 dots for eyes and a line for a mouth, more readily than they'll follow scrambled features. This instant attraction to faces makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Recognizing caregivers meant survival, and the ability to read emotions through facial expressions created bonds that protected vulnerable infants. Within days, babies begin to recognize their mother's face specifically. In those early moments of life, before language or memory as we know it, the human mind is already reaching out, searching for connection in the curves and shadows of a face. It's one of our first acts in the world, and it happens almost automatically. Looking for someone to look back. Silence can be more relaxing than music for some people. While many find music soothing, research suggests the complete silence can sometimes lower stress more effectively. In one study, 2 minutes of silence between musical tracks produced more relaxation than the music itself, measured by decreases in heart rate and blood pressure. Silence allows the brain to reset, providing a break from constant sensory input. In our modern world, we're surrounded by sound, from traffic to conversations to background noise that we barely notice. This constant stimulation can keep stress levels elevated. Silence offers a different quality of rest. It's not empty, it's spacious. In that space, the mind can expand, thoughts can settle, and the nervous system can find its natural rhythm. For those who find silence uncomfortable at first, it often becomes more welcoming with practice. Like learning to appreciate a new flavor, stillness can grow on you. And in that stillness, sometimes we hear ourselves most clearly. Walking in nature can restore your attention. Spending time in natural settings, even just 20 minutes in a park, can significantly improve focus and reduce mental fatigue. Psychologists call this attention restoration theory. The idea is that nature provides a gentle, effortless kind of attention, and that allows the brain's directed attention systems to rest and recharge. Unlike urban environments, which demand constant alertness to traffic, signs, and crowds, nature captures attention softly. A bird in a tree, light filtering through leaves, the sound of water. These elements engage the mind without draining it. Studies show that even looking at pictures of nature can have mild restorative effects, though actually being outside is more powerful. In evolutionary terms, natural environments may be what our brains are designed for, the settings where our ancestors lived and where our attention systems evolved. So when you step into a forest or sit by a lake, you're giving your mind a chance to come home. The color blue can slow your heart rate. Colors affect us in ways we don't always notice. Blue, in particular, has been shown to have calming physiological effects, including lowering blood pressure and slowing heart rate. This response may be linked to associations with peaceful elements like calm skies and still water. In contrast, warm colors like red and orange can increase arousal and energy. Interior designers and healthcare facilities often use blue in spaces meant for relaxation and recovery. The effect is subtle. You won't necessarily feel dramatically different in a blue room, but over time, these small influences can shape your mood and stress levels. Interestingly, different cultures may respond slightly differently to colors based on learned associations, but the calming effect of blue appears fairly universal. It's a reminder that our environment speaks to us constantly in a quiet language of color, shape, and light. And sometimes, changing something as simple as the color around you can shift the whole atmosphere of your inner world. Humans can detect about 1 trillion different scents. For a long time, scientists believed humans could distinguish around 10,000 smells. Recent research suggests the number is far higher, possibly exceeding 1 trillion. This remarkable sensitivity comes from the nearly 400 types of scent receptors in the nose, which can detect countless combinations of odor molecules. Smell is also the sense most closely linked to memory and emotion, because it connects directly to the limbic system. This is why a particular fragrance can transport you instantly to a specific time and place. Unlike our other senses, smell doesn't get filtered through the thalamus before reaching emotional centers. It takes a more direct route, which is why scent memories can feel so immediate and powerful. In every breath, you're gathering invisible information about your surroundings, most of it processed below conscious awareness. Your nose is constantly reading the air, adding depth and texture to your experience of the world in ways you rarely notice, but would deeply miss if they were gone. Your pupils dilate when you see someone you love. The eyes reveal emotions in surprising ways. When you look at someone you care deeply about, your pupils naturally expand, even in consistent lighting. This dilation is controlled by the autonomic nervous system and happens without conscious thought. It's a physiological response to emotional arousal, whether from love, excitement, or interest. Interestingly, people can subconsciously detect pupil changes in others, and dilated pupils tend to make faces appear more attractive. This creates a subtle feedback loop, where mutual attraction can be reinforced through these tiny unconscious signals. The effect works with other positive experiences too. Looking at something beautiful, eating delicious food, or solving an interesting problem can all cause pupils to widen. In a way, your eyes are windows not just for looking out, but for others to glimpse in. Small biological truth-tellers that respond to what moves you, often before you've put the feeling into words. Gentle touch releases oxytocin in the brain. When someone touches your arm gently, holds your hand, or hugs you, your brain releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. This chemical promotes feelings of trust, safety, and connection. It also has physical effects, including lowering blood pressure and reducing the stress hormone cortisol. The type of touch matters. Gentle, caring touch triggers this response more than rough or clinical contact. Interestingly, the person giving the touch can experience oxytocin release too, creating a mutual benefit. This may be one reason why massage, holding hands, or simply sitting close to someone can feel so soothing. For people who live alone or experience touch deprivation, even petting an animal can provide some of these benefits. Touch is one of our most fundamental forms of communication, carrying messages of care and presence that words sometimes can't capture. In a single gentle touch, two nervous systems can reach toward each other, finding comfort in that simple, ancient connection. Soft lighting helps your brain prepare for sleep. Bright light, especially blue light from screens, signals to your brain that it's daytime, suppressing the production of melatonin, the hormone that promotes sleep. Softer, warmer lighting in the evening helps your body transition toward rest. This is why many sleep experts recommend dimming lights an hour or two before bed and avoiding screens during that time. Candlelight or warm-toned lamps create an environment that's more in harmony with your natural circadian rhythm. Throughout most of human history, the only light after sunset came from fire, which has a warm, orange glow, very different from modern LED bulbs. Our biology is still tuned to those ancient patterns. By adjusting the lighting in your environment, you can work with your body's natural rhythms rather than against them. It's a small change that can have a meaningful impact on sleep quality. The light you choose in the evening is like a lullaby for your nervous system, gently telling it that the day is done and rest is near. Breathing slowly activates your calm response. The breath is one of the few bodily functions that's both automatic and under conscious control. By deliberately slowing your breathing, you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which governs rest and relaxation. This is the opposite of the stress response. When you breathe slowly and deeply, particularly emphasizing the exhale, you send a signal to your brain that you're safe. Heart rate decreases, blood pressure drops, and muscle tension eases. Many meditation and relaxation practices center on the breath for exactly this reason. The effect is measurable and reliable. Even just a few slow, deep breaths can begin to shift your state. In moments of anxiety or overwhelm, the breath is always there, a tool you carry with you everywhere. By simply paying attention to it and guiding it gently, you can influence your entire nervous system. Breath is the bridge between body and mind, and crossing that bridge mindfully can lead you toward calm. Warm colors can make you feel warmer physically. Just as blue can feel cool, warm colors like red, orange, and yellow can actually increase your perception of temperature. In studies, people in rooms painted warm colors estimated the temperature to be several degrees higher than those in cool-colored rooms, even when the actual temperature was identical. This effect seems to work through association. We link warm colors with fire, sun, and heat, and our brains incorporate that association into how we perceive our environment. Some offices and restaurants use this phenomenon strategically, choosing colors that make spaces feel warmer without adjusting the thermostat. It's another example of how perception is not purely objective, but shaped by context, memory, and association. What you see can influence what you feel, blurring the line between external reality and internal experience. Your mind doesn't just observe the world, it interprets and responds to it, weaving together sensation and meaning in every moment. Your brain creates patterns even in randomness. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. We're so good at finding patterns that we sometimes see them where they don't exist, a phenomenon called pareidolia. This is why we see faces in clouds, hear messages in static, or find meaning in random sequences. The tendency evolved because noticing patterns, like recognizing animal tracks or seasonal changes, was crucial for survival. A false positive, seeing a pattern that isn't there, was less dangerous than a false negative, missing a real pattern. Today, this tendency influences how we interpret everything from coincidences to complex data. It can lead to superstitions and cognitive biases, but it's also the root of creativity and scientific discovery. The human mind is a meaning-making machine, constantly weaving threads of connection through the fabric of experience. Sometimes those threads are real. Sometimes they're imagined. But the urge to find them, to make sense of things, is one of our most fundamental drives. Daydreaming helps solve complex problems. When you let your mind wander, you're not wasting time. Research shows that daydreaming activates brain networks involved in problem-solving and creativity. This is why solutions sometimes arrive when you're not actively thinking about a problem, in the shower, on a walk, or just before sleep. The wandering mind explores possibilities and makes connections that focused attention might miss. It's a different mode of thinking, more associative and less constrained by logic. While sustained focus is essential for some tasks, giving your mind permission to drift can be equally valuable. Many creative breakthroughs have emerged during moments of apparent idleness. The key is balance. Too much unfocused wandering can be unproductive, but never allowing it can leave you mentally exhausted and stuck. In a culture that often glorifies constant productivity, daydreaming is a quiet rebellion, a reminder that sometimes the most valuable work happens when you're not trying. Soft sounds mask jarring noise. White noise, rain sounds, or gentle music can improve sleep and concentration by covering up unpredictable, disruptive sounds. Our brains are alert to sudden changes in our environment, a leftover from times when an unexpected sound could signal danger. A dripping faucet or distant traffic doesn't wake us because of volume, but because of irregularity. Soft, consistent sound provides a masking effect, creating a stable auditory environment where changes are less noticeable. Many people find nature sounds particularly soothing. The rustle of leaves, ocean waves, or steady rainfall. These sounds are complex enough to be interesting, but predictable enough to be calming. They create a sonic blanket that can make a space feel more peaceful. Whether you're trying to sleep, work, or simply relax. The right background sound can transform your environment from jarring to gentle. It's not about silence, but about choosing sounds that support rather than interrupt the quality of attention you need. People smile differently when genuinely happy. There are different types of smiles, and they engage different muscles. A genuine smile, called a Duchenne smile, involves both the muscles around the mouth and those around the eyes. This creates crow's feet or crinkles at the corners of the eyes. A polite or social smile, in contrast, typically involves only the mouth. Most people can't voluntarily control the eye muscles involved in genuine smiles, which is why real happiness is hard to fake. Observers, even young children, can often distinguish between real and fake smiles, though they may not consciously realize what cues they're reading. This difference exists because genuine smiles are controlled by different brain pathways than deliberate expressions. A real smile emerges from emotional centers, while a posed smile comes from motor control regions. In every smile, there's a small truth being told. And somewhere deep in our social brains, we're constantly reading those truths in one another, navigating the subtle landscape of authentic emotion. Familiar music can reduce anxiety. Listening to music you know well can lower anxiety more effectively than unfamiliar music, even if both are calming. Familiar songs create a sense of predictability and control. Your brain knows what's coming next, which can feel reassuring in uncertain moments. This is why people often return to favorite songs during stressful times. The music becomes a kind of anchor, something reliable in an unpredictable world. Additionally, familiar music often carries positive associations, memories of times and places where you first heard it. These associations add emotional layers that can enhance the calming effect. While exploring new music can be exciting, there's deep comfort in returning to songs that feel like old friends. They remind you of who you've been and where you've traveled. In their familiar rhythms and melodies, you can find a small refuge, a known place in the ever-changing landscape of experience. Your sense of smell fades as you age. Beginning in your 20s and accelerating after 60, your ability to detect and identify odors gradually declines. The number of functioning scent receptors decreases, and the brain regions that process smell can shrink slightly. This is why older adults sometimes add more seasoning to food or don't notice subtle scents that younger people detect easily. The change is gradual and varies from person to person. Interestingly, smell loss can affect quality of life more than people expect. It influences taste, memory recall, and even safety, since we rely on smell to detect smoke, gas leaks, or spoiled food. For those who notice their sense of smell diminishing, simple practices like actively noticing scents during daily activities can help maintain awareness of this often overlooked sense. Like all aspects of aging, it's a reminder that our perception is not fixed, but changes gradually across the lifespan, reshaping how we experience the world in countless subtle ways. Laughter synchronizes brain activity between people. When two people laugh together, their brain waves begin to synchronize, particularly in regions involved in social cognition and emotion. This neural mirroring creates a sense of connection and shared experience. It's one reason why laughter is so social. We laugh far more often when we're with others than when we're alone, even if the humor is the same. The synchronization happens unconsciously and strengthens social bonds. shared laughter releases endorphins, creating feelings of trust and affection. It can diffuse tension, build rapport, and create memories that tie people together. In a very real sense, when you laugh with someone, your minds briefly move in rhythm, like two instruments playing in harmony. This is why laughter is such a powerful social glue, and why moments of shared humor can feel so connecting. In that synchrony, even briefly, you're not separate individuals, but a part of something larger. Cool temperatures help you sleep better. Your body temperature naturally drops as you prepare for sleep, signaling to your brain that it's time to rest. A cool bedroom, typically between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, supports this natural process. If the environment is too warm, it can interfere with the body's temperature regulation and disrupt sleep quality. This is why many people sleep better in winter or with a fan running. Interestingly, while a cool room is best, warm extremities can help. Wearing socks or taking a warm bath before bed dilates blood vessels in your hands and feet, releasing heat from your core and triggering sleepiness. The combination of a cool environment and warm extremities creates the ideal conditions for rest. It's a simple adjustment that works with your body's biology rather than against it. Temperature is one of those invisible factors that shapes your experience profoundly, yet often goes unnoticed. By paying attention to it, you can create an environment that invites deeper, more restorative sleep. Acts of kindness boost your mood for hours. Doing something kind for someone else activates reward centers in your brain, releasing feel-good chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. This effect, sometimes called the helper's high, can last for hours after the act itself. What's more, even small gestures, holding a door, offering a compliment, helping someone carry something, can trigger this response. The benefit appears to be greater when the kindness is spontaneous and directed towards someone you don't know well. This may be because unexpected generosity feels more meaningful. Interestingly, witnessing kindness can also lift mood, suggesting that goodness has a ripple effect. When you see someone helping another person, it activates similar neural pathways as if you were involved yourself. This means kindness is contagious in the best possible way. Each small act creates expanding circles of positivity, touching not just the giver and receiver, but everyone who witnesses it. In a world that can feel harsh, kindness is a quiet force that reshapes the emotional atmosphere around it. Reading fiction increases empathy. Stories allow you to step into other minds, experiencing thoughts and feelings different from your own. This practice of mental simulation strengthens your ability to understand others in real life. Brain imaging studies show that reading activates areas involved in social cognition and theory of mind, the capacity to recognize that others have their own thoughts and perspectives. Fiction readers tend to score higher on empathy tests compared to non-readers or those who read only non-fiction. The effect seems to be strongest with literary fiction, which often focuses on complex characters and internal experiences. By spending time in imagined worlds, you're essentially practicing empathy, learning to navigate the inner lives of people very different from yourself. Each book becomes a kind of simulation, preparing you for the complexity of real human relationships. In this way, stories are not escapes from reality, but rehearsals for it, helping you become more attuned to the invisible currents of emotion and intention flowing through every interaction. Your brain filters out your nose from your vision. Right now, your nose is in your field of view, yet you don't see it. Your brain has learned to filter it out as irrelevant information. This is an example of perceptual adaptation, where the mind edits reality to focus on what matters. The same thing happens with the blind spot in each eye where the optic nerve connects to the retina. Your brain fills in the missing information seamlessly, so you never notice the gap. These edits happen constantly below awareness. Your brain is not presenting you with raw sensory data, but with an interpreted version, cleaned up and organized for easy use. This is efficient, but also means that perception is always partially constructed. What you see is not exactly what's there, but what your brain has decided you need to see. In every glance, you're experiencing a curated version of reality, tailored by millions of years of evolution to keep you focused on what's relevant. Your mind is both observer and editor, shaping the story of what you notice. Holding a warm drink makes you feel more trusting. Physical warmth influences social perception in subtle ways. In one study, people holding a warm cup of coffee judged others as more generous and caring compared to those holding iced coffee. The effect works through metaphorical association. Warmth is linked to affection and closeness in language and experience, and the brain blurs physical and emotional warmth. Similarly, sitting in a cold room can make people feel more socially isolated. These findings suggest that our understanding of abstract concepts, like trust and kindness, is grounded in physical sensation. We build meaning from our bodily experiences, layering metaphor onto sensation. This mind-body connection means that changing your physical state through warmth, posture, or movement can shift your emotional and social perceptions. It's another reminder that you are not a mind inhabiting a body, but an integrated whole, where physical and psychological states flow into each other continuously. Forest bathing lowers stress hormones. Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is a Japanese practice of spending time in nature, particularly forests, to improve well-being. Research shows that even a short walk in the woods can reduce cortisol levels, lower blood pressure, and improve mood. The benefits seem to come from multiple factors: the peaceful environment, the gentle sensory stimulation, and possibly even chemicals called phytoncides that trees release into the air. These compounds, which trees use to protect themselves from insects, may have immune-boosting effects in humans. Beyond the biology, there's something psychologically restorative about being among trees. The scale, the quiet, the sense of being part of something larger and older than yourself. It offers perspective and calm. You don't need a pristine wilderness to benefit. Even urban parks with trees can provide some of the same effects. The practice is less about hiking or exercise, and more about simply being present among the trees, allowing the forest to work its subtle magic on your nervous system. Handwriting engages your brain more fully than typing. When you write by hand, you activate areas of the brain involved in motor control, visual processing, and language simultaneously. This multi-sensory engagement helps encode information more deeply. Students who take handwritten notes often understand and remember material better than those who type, even if they write less. This happens partly because handwriting is slower, forcing you to summarize and process information rather than transcribing verbatim. The physical act of forming letters also seems to create stronger memory traces. Brain scans show that handwriting activates the motor cortex in ways that typing doesn't, creating additional neural pathways connected to the information. In a digital age, there's something valuable about returning to pen and paper occasionally. The slowness becomes a feature rather than a bug. It creates space for thought, turning writing into a form of thinking rather than just recording. Each stroke of the pen is a small act of embodiment, linking mind and hand in a dance older than any keyboard. People are more honest in dimly lit spaces. Low lighting can reduce self-consciousness and create a sense of anonymity, even when you're not actually anonymous. In experiments, people in dimly lit rooms were more likely to share personal information, admit to past behaviors, and express unpopular opinions compared to those in brightly lit rooms. Darkness seems to provide a psychological veil, a feeling of being hidden even when you're not. This is why intimate conversations often happen in softer light. Restaurants use dim lighting partly for this reason, creating an atmosphere where people feel more comfortable opening up. The effect works in reverse, too. Bright light can make people feel more exposed and increase self-monitoring. Understanding this dynamic can be useful when you need to have a difficult conversation or want someone to feel comfortable being vulnerable. The lighting in the room matters more than you might think. It's one of many ways the physical environment shapes psychological experience, creating conditions that either invite openness or encourage guardedness. Repetitive movements can be meditative. Activities like knitting, walking, or even washing dishes involve repetitive motions that can induce a meditative state. The rhythm and predictability allow the conscious mind to quiet while the hands stay busy. This can reduce anxiety and create a sense of calm focus. Psychologists sometimes call this a flow state, though it's a gentler version than the intense absorption of, say, a rock climber or chess player. The repetition provides just enough engagement to prevent mind wandering into worry, but not so much that it causes stress. Many traditional practices, from prayer beads to weaving, harness this effect. The hands know what to do, and the mind can rest. In our modern world, we often seek stimulation and variety, but there is deep satisfaction in repetitive action. It connects us to countless generations who found peace in simple, repeated gestures. The rhythm of the work becomes a kind of anchor, steadying the mind through the predictable comfort of familiar motion. Nostalgia can provide psychological comfort. Reflecting on positive memories from the past can increase feelings of social connection, boost mood, and even reduce loneliness. Nostalgia is not just wistful longing. It's a psychological resource that reminds you of times when you felt loved, capable, or happy. This can be especially valuable during difficult periods, providing a sense of continuity and meaning. Interestingly, nostalgic memories tend to be selective. We remember the good parts more vividly than the bad, which enhances the comforting effect. Music, photos, and scents are powerful triggers of nostalgia because they activate multiple memory systems at once. While it's possible to become stuck in the past, moderate nostalgia is generally healthy. It's a way of drawing strength from your own history, reminding yourself that you've experienced joy and connection before and can do so again. In those remembered moments, you find evidence of resilience and proof that good things have been part of your story. Soft textures can calm the nervous system. touching, soft materials like velvet, fleece, or fur can trigger a relaxation response. This happens through specialized nerve endings in the skin that respond to gentle touch, sending signals to the brain that promote calmness. These nerves, called C-tactile afferents, are thought to be involved in social bonding and emotional regulation. They're activated by slow, gentle stroking, the kind that occurs in affectionate touch. This is why many people find comfort in soft blankets, stuffed animals, or petting animals. The tactile experience is inherently soothing. Interestingly, this response seems to be present from birth, which makes sense given that gentle touch from caregivers is crucial for infant development. Throughout life, soft touch remains a way to signal safety to the nervous system. In moments of stress, something as simple as running your fingers over a soft fabric can help regulate your emotional state, reminding your body that in this moment you are safe and cared for. You remember beginnings and endings best. In any sequence of events, whether a list of words, a movie, or a conversation, people tend to remember the first and last items most clearly. The middle tends to blur. This pattern, combining primacy and recency effects, shapes how we recall experiences. When you think back on a vacation, you probably remember arriving and leaving more vividly than the days in between. This has practical implications. If you want something to be memorable, place it at the beginning or end. The phenomenon occurs because the first items get more rehearsal and attention, while the last items are still fresh in short-term memory when recall happens. The middle competes for attention and often loses. Understanding this can help you structure information, whether you're giving a presentation or trying to make a meaningful impression. But it also serves as a reminder that memory is selective. The mind can't hold everything equally, so it prioritizes, creating a condensed version of experience that highlights certain moments while letting others fade into the background. Rain sounds help many people relax. The steady patter of rain creates a form of pink noise, a sound frequency that many find soothing. Unlike white noise, which contains all frequencies equally, pink noise has more power in lower frequencies, giving it a deeper, softer quality. Rain, waterfalls, and rustling leaves all produce pink noise naturally. Research suggests this type of sound can improve sleep quality and deepen relaxation. The rhythmic, predictable nature of rain also plays a role. Your brain doesn't need to stay alert to unexpected changes, allowing it to rest more fully. Additionally, rain often signals safety. You're inside, dry, and protected, while nature does its work outside. This creates a cozy sense of security. For many, rain sounds evoke childhood memories of being tucked in during storms, adding an emotional layer to the calming effect. Whether through a recording or the real thing, the sound of rain can transform your environment into a peaceful sanctuary, a gentle reminder that rest is not only possible, but invited. Art can reduce stress as much as vacation. Studies have found that engaging with art, whether creating it or observing it, can significantly lower cortisol levels and reduce stress. The effect can be comparable to taking a short vacation. Making art activates the reward system, promotes focus, and provides an outlet for emotions that might be difficult to express in words. Even simple activities like coloring, doodling, or arranging objects can be therapeutic. You don't need to be skilled or produce something beautiful. The process itself is what matters. Looking at art can be equally powerful. Museum visits have been shown to improve mood and well-being, with the benefits lasting for days. The key is engagement. When you truly pay attention to art, allowing yourself to be moved by color, form, or meaning, you step out of daily worries and into a different kind of attention. In that shift, stress loosens its grip. Art offers a doorway into presence, inviting you to pause and simply be with beauty or meaning for a moment. Plants in your space can improve mood and focus. Having plants nearby, whether at home or work, has been linked to reduced stress, improved concentration, and better overall mood. The presence of greenery seems to provide psychological benefits beyond just aesthetics. Some research suggests that caring for plants creates a sense of purpose and connection to something alive. The act of watering, pruning, or simply noticing growth can be meditative. Plants also improve air quality in subtle ways, though you'd need many plants to make a significant difference. Perhaps most importantly, they bring a piece of nature indoors, serving as a gentle reminder of the natural world even in urban or indoor environments. The type of plant matters less than simply having something living and green to tend to. Even a small succulent on a desk can make a space feel more welcoming. In their quiet growth, plants model patience and resilience. They ask little and offer a steady, living presence that can make any space feel more like home. Your brain can't multitask effectively. What we call multitasking is actually task switching, rapidly shifting attention between activities. Each switch comes with a cognitive cost. It takes time for your brain to reorient, and during that transition, performance suffers. Research shows that people who frequently multitask tend to be worse at filtering out irrelevant information and more easily distracted. The sense of productivity that multitasking creates is often an illusion. You feel busy, but you're accomplishing less and retaining information more poorly than if you focused on one thing at a time. For tasks requiring deep thought or learning, single tasking is far more effective. This doesn't mean you can never do two things at once. You can walk and talk because walking is automatic. But for activities that require conscious attention, dividing focus reduces quality. In a world designed to pull your attention in many directions simultaneously, choosing to do one thing fully can feel radical. But it's also one of the most effective ways to think clearly, learn deeply, and work efficiently. Gratitude journals improve sleep quality. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for before bed can improve how quickly you fall asleep and how well you sleep. This practice shifts attention away from worries and toward positive aspects of your day, creating a calmer mental state. It doesn't require elaborate reflection. Simple things count: a good meal, a kind word, sunshine. The act of identifying these moments trains your attention to notice the good, even in difficult times. Over weeks, this can shift your overall outlook, making you more attuned to positive experiences. The effect on sleep likely works through multiple pathways. Gratitude reduces rumination, the repetitive negative thinking that often keeps people awake. It also activates brain regions associated with contentment and social connection. By ending your day with gratitude, you're essentially choosing the emotional tone you carry into sleep. Instead of worry or regret, you bring appreciation. That small shift, repeated night after night, can reshape both your sleep and your waking life in surprisingly powerful ways. Horizontal lines feel more calming than vertical ones. Visual design elements influence mood in subtle ways. Horizontal lines tend to feel stable, restful, and expansive, perhaps because they echo the horizon, a symbol of openness and peace. Vertical lines, in contrast, can feel more energetic, ambitious, or even confrontational. They draw the eye upward and suggest movement. Curved lines often feel softer and more organic than straight ones. These associations aren't arbitrary. They're rooted in our embodied experience of the world. Horizons represent rest and distance. Vertical structures suggest effort and achievement. Our brains have learned these patterns over countless lifetimes. Interior designers use this knowledge intentionally, choosing patterns and layouts that support the intended feeling of a space. A bedroom might feature horizontal stripes or low, wide furniture to promote calm. An office might use vertical elements to encourage alertness. While the effects are subtle, they accumulate. The visual environment you inhabit quietly shapes your emotional state, speaking a language your conscious mind rarely notices, but your body understands. Humming can calm your nervous system. The simple act of humming creates vibrations that stimulate the vagus nerve, a major component of the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation. This stimulation can slow heart rate, lower blood pressure, and reduce anxiety. The effect is immediate and measurable. Humming also forces you to extend your exhale, which further activates the relaxation response. Many meditation traditions incorporate humming or chanting for exactly these reasons. The practice is accessible and portable. You can hum quietly anywhere, at your desk, in your car, while walking. No special training is needed. The vibrations you create don't just affect your throat. They resonate through your whole body, creating a gentle internal massage. In moments of stress or overwhelm, humming can be a quick reset button. It's a tool that's always with you, requiring nothing but breath and attention. In its simplicity, it connects you to an ancient practice, using sound to soothe the body and quiet the mind. Positive visualizations can improve actual performance. Mental practice, vividly imagining yourself performing a skill successfully, can enhance real-world performance. Athletes use this technique extensively, but it works for any skill or challenge. When you visualize an action in detail, your brain activates many of the same neural pathways as when you actually perform it. This mental rehearsal strengthens those pathways, making the real action smoother and more automatic. The key is specificity. Vague daydreams don't have the same effect. You need to imagine sensory details, what you see, hear, and feel, as well as the sequence of movements or decisions. Studies show that combining mental practice with physical practice produces better results than physical practice alone. Visualization also reduces performance anxiety by making the challenge feel more familiar. Your brain has been there before, even if only in imagination. This creates confidence and calm. In this way, your imagination becomes a training ground, a place where you can practice success until it feels natural, preparing both mind and body for the real thing. Slow, deliberate eating improves digestion and satisfaction. Eating quickly can lead to overeating and poor digestion because it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to register fullness. When you eat slowly, paying attention to each bite, you give your body time to send satiety signals. You also tend to enjoy food more. Taste receptors adapt quickly, so the first bites are often the most flavorful. By slowing down, you extend that window of peak enjoyment. Chewing thoroughly also aids digestion, breaking food down more completely before it reaches your stomach. Beyond the physical benefits, mindful eating can transform your relationship with food. Instead of eating on autopilot, you become present to the experience, the textures, flavors, and even the gratitude for having nourishment. This practice is common in contemplative traditions, where meals become a form of meditation. In a rushed world, choosing to eat slowly is an act of self-care. It says that this moment, this meal, this body, all deserve your full attention. Weighted blankets can reduce anxiety. The gentle pressure of a weighted blanket provides what's called deep touch pressure stimulation. This can increase serotonin and melatonin while decreasing cortisol, creating a calming effect. The sensation is similar to being hugged, which triggers the same relaxation response. Many people with anxiety, autism, or sensory processing issues find weighted blankets particularly helpful for sleep and relaxation. The weight should be about 10% of your body weight for optimal benefit. The pressure seems to provide a sense of security and groundedness. It's called proprioceptive input, the sensation of where your body is in space. This input can be organizing and calming for the nervous system. While weighted blankets aren't a cure for anxiety, they can be a useful tool, especially during times of heightened stress. The physical sensation of being gently held can remind your body that it's safe, helping to break the cycle of anxious thoughts and physical tension that often feed each other. The moon doesn't actually affect human behavior. Despite popular belief, there's no scientific evidence that full moons influence mood, behavior, or sleep. This myth has been studied extensively, and well-controlled research consistently shows no correlation. The belief likely persists because of confirmation bias. When something unusual happens during a full moon, we notice and remember it. When nothing happens, or when unusual things occur at other times, we don't connect it to the lunar cycle. The moon's gravitational pull does affect tides, which leads some to speculate it must affect humans since we're mostly water. But the gravitational force is far too weak to influence something as small as a human body. A mosquito landing on your arm exerts more force. Still, if believing in the moon's influence brings comfort or meaning, that belief itself can shape experience. Expectations are powerful. But the moon itself, beautiful as it is simply following its orbit, indifferent to human affairs, a distant companion in the night sky with no hidden power over your thoughts or actions. Stargazing can inspire awe and reduce stress. Looking up at a clear night sky filled with stars can trigger a sense of awe, that feeling of being in the presence of something vast and incomprehensible. Research shows that experiencing awe has numerous psychological benefits. It can reduce stress, increase feelings of connectedness, and even make people more generous and less focused on themselves. Awe shifts perspective, making personal problems feel smaller in the context of cosmic scale. This isn't about diminishing your concerns, but about placing them within a larger framework. The stars you see are ancient light, some from objects so distant they may no longer exist. Contemplating this can be both humbling and liberating. It reminds you that you're part of something enormous and ongoing. In cultures throughout history, People have looked to the stars for guidance, meaning, and wonder. That practice remains available to anyone who steps outside on a clear night and looks up. In those moments of connection with the cosmos, stress and worry can seem to dissolve into the vastness above. Your brain processes music in multiple areas simultaneously. Listening to music is one of the most complex activities your brain performs. It engages regions responsible for auditory processing, emotion, memory, movement, and even language. This is why music can be so powerful and why it affects people so deeply. A single song activates more of your brain than most other experiences. This widespread activation may explain why music is so effective at triggering memories. The neural networks overlap, so a melody becomes intertwined with the context in which you first heard it. Music also synchronizes brainwaves between listeners, creating a shared neural experience even among strangers. This may be why concerts and group singing feel so connecting. When you listen to music with someone, your brains are literally moving together in time. In the rhythm and melody, minds find common ground. This makes music not just entertainment, but a fundamental form of human connection, one that transcends language and links people through shared patterns of neural firing. Morning sunlight helps regulate your sleep cycle. Exposure to bright light, especially natural sunlight, within the first hour of waking helps set your circadian rhythm. This signals to your brain that it's daytime, suppressing melatonin production and increasing alertness. It also sets a timer. About 14 to 16 hours after that morning light exposure, your body will naturally begin preparing for sleep. This is why morning light exposure can improve not just energy during the day, but also sleep quality at night. Even 10 to 15 minutes outside or near a bright window can make a difference. The effect is strongest with natural sunlight, but bright indoor light can help too, especially during darker months. Many people who struggle with sleep or seasonal depression find that prioritizing morning light has a significant impact. It's a simple intervention, yet it works with your body's deepest biological rhythms, helping align your internal clock with the natural cycle of day and night. In this way, the sun becomes not just a source of light, but a regulator of your body's most fundamental patterns. Forgiving others benefits your own health. Holding onto grudges and resentment creates chronic stress, which affects both mental and physical health. Studies show that people who practice forgiveness experience lower blood pressure, reduced anxiety and depression, and stronger immune function. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior or forgetting what happened. It's about releasing the ongoing emotional burden for your own sake. When you forgive, you're choosing to stop letting the past event continue to harm you in the present. This can be profoundly difficult, especially for serious wrongs. It's often a process rather than a single decision. But even small movements toward forgiveness can create relief. The alternative, carrying bitterness indefinitely, gradually erodes well-being. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's a gift you give yourself. It's choosing to free up the mental and emotional energy that resentment consumes, making that energy available for more constructive purposes. In releasing others from your internal judgment, you often release yourself from a prison you didn't realize you were living in. Simple acts of self-compassion reduce suffering. When things go wrong, many people instinctively criticize themselves harshly. Research shows that self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend, is far more effective for well-being and growth. Self-compassion has three components: recognizing that suffering is part of being human, being kind to yourself rather than judgmental, and maintaining perspective rather than over-identifying with negative emotions. People high in self-compassion experience less anxiety and depression, and recover from setbacks more quickly. Contrary to fears that self-compassion might lead to complacency, it actually supports motivation and resilience. When you're not wasting energy on self-attack, you have more resources for problem-solving and improvement. The practice can feel unfamiliar at first, especially if you've spent years in patterns of self-criticism. But it's learnable. Even small shifts, pausing to acknowledge difficulty rather than judging yourself for it, can begin to change your relationship with yourself. In moments of failure or pain, the question becomes, what would I say to a friend in this situation? Then, offering yourself that same understanding. Your brain continues developing into your 20s. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, planning, and impulse control, is one of the last brain regions to fully mature. This process continues until the mid-20s. This explains why teenagers and young adults sometimes struggle with risk assessment and long-term thinking more than older adults. It's not a character flaw, but a developmental stage. The brain is literally still under construction in these areas. Understanding this can foster patience and compassion, both for young people and for your younger self. Many decisions that seem baffling in hindsight make more sense when you recognize that your brain was still developing. The extended development period also represents opportunity. The brain remains plastic and capable of significant learning and change throughout young adulthood. Habits, skills, and thought patterns established during this time can have lasting effects. The incompleteness of the young brain is not a weakness, but a feature, providing an extended window for growth, exploration, and adaptation before adult patterns fully solidify. Anxiety and excitement create similar physical sensations: racing heart, quick breathing, butterflies in your stomach. These sensations occur during both anxiety and excitement. The physical arousal is nearly identical. The difference is largely in how you interpret it. This insight has practical value. When you feel nervous before a performance or presentation, reframing the sensation as excitement rather than anxiety can improve your performance. Studies show that people who tell themselves they're excited rather than anxious actually do better on challenging tasks. The body's arousal provides energy. Whether that energy becomes debilitating anxiety or motivating excitement depends partly on the story you tell about it. This doesn't mean anxiety isn't real or that you can simply think it away, but it does mean there's sometimes flexibility in how you relate to your own physiological state. In moments of high arousal, you might ask, could this be excitement? Is my body preparing me for something challenging in a way that could help rather than hinder? That small shift in interpretation can transform your experience. Elderly people often become happier with age. Despite physical decline and losses that accompany aging, research consistently shows that emotional well-being often improves in later life. Older adults tend to experience more positive emotions, fewer negative emotions, and greater emotional stability than younger people. This is sometimes called the paradox of aging. Several factors contribute. Older people tend to prioritize emotionally meaningful activities and relationships, letting go of less important concerns. They've also developed better emotion regulation strategies through decades of experience. There may be a shift in time perspective, too. Recognizing that time is finite focuses attention on what truly matters. Brain changes also play a role. Older adults show less activation in areas related to negative emotions when viewing unpleasant images. This doesn't mean old age is without challenges or that everyone experiences this shift, but it suggests that, for many, the later chapters of life can be surprisingly rich in contentment. Wisdom isn't just accumulated knowledge. It's often reflected in a deeper, quieter form of happiness, one less dependent on external circumstances and more rooted in acceptance and perspective. Your voice sounds different to you than to others. When you speak, you hear your voice through two pathways: sound waves traveling through the air to your ears, and vibrations traveling through the bones of your skull directly to your inner ear. This bone conduction emphasizes lower frequencies, making your voice sound deeper and richer to you than it does to others. When you hear a recording of yourself, you're only getting the airborne sound without the bone-conducted portion. This is why most people dislike hearing their recorded voice. It sounds unfamiliar, thinner, and higher. But that's actually how others hear you all the time. Your internal experience of your own voice is unique to you. Over time, some people adjust to their recorded voice, and the discomfort fades. But for many, it remains slightly jarring, a reminder that self-perception and external reality don't always align. How you experience yourself from the inside is fundamentally different from how others experience you from the outside. Your voice, quite literally, sounds different depending on where you're standing. Brief moments of silence improve conversation. Strategic pauses in conversation, just a few seconds, can improve communication and connection. Silence gives both people time to process what's been said and consider the response more thoughtfully. It creates space for deeper thoughts to emerge, rather than just reacting quickly. Many people feel uncomfortable with conversational pauses and rush to fill them. But research suggests that embracing brief silences can lead to more meaningful exchanges. Pauses signal that you're truly considering the other person's words, rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. They also allow emotions to settle, which can be especially valuable in difficult conversations. In some cultures, silence is valued more highly than in others, where rapid back and forth is the norm. But across contexts, the right pause at the right moment can transform a conversation. It's a kind of punctuation, giving shape and rhythm to dialogue. In the space between words, understanding can deepen, and connection can grow in ways that constant talking doesn't allow. Nature sounds improve cognitive performance. Background sounds from nature, like flowing water, birdsong, or wind in trees, can enhance focus and cognitive function better than silence or urban noise. Studies show that natural sounds can improve concentration on tasks while also reducing stress. The effect seems to come from the fact that nature sounds are engaging enough to mask distracting noises, but not so demanding that they pull attention away from the task at hand. They create an optimal acoustic environment for thinking. Additionally, these sounds may trigger associations with rest and safety, environments where humans historically recovered and thrived. Even when you can't be in nature, listening to recordings can provide some benefit. Many people find that nature sounds help them work, study, or relax more effectively than complete silence or music with lyrics. It's as if these sounds provide a sonic environment that the brain recognizes as supportive, one that says, "You are in a good place. You can focus here. You are safe enough to think deeply." Expressing emotions helps process them. When you put feelings into words, whether by talking or writing, you engage the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate the limbic system where emotions originate. This process, sometimes called affect labeling, reduces the intensity of negative emotions. Brain scans show that simply naming an emotion decreases activity in the amygdala, the brain's fear and stress center. This is one reason why therapy, journaling, and talking with trusted friends can be so helpful. The act of articulation itself is therapeutic. You don't need perfect words or deep analysis. Even basic emotional vocabulary, "I feel sad," "I'm anxious," "I'm angry," can provide relief. The effect is strongest when expression feels safe and voluntary, not forced. This is why creating spaces where people feel comfortable sharing emotions is so important. When feelings remain unnamed and unexpressed, they tend to intensify and persist. By bringing them into language, you give your thinking brain a chance to work with your emotional brain, integrating the experience rather than being overwhelmed by it. In this way, words become a bridge between feeling and understanding. Rituals reduce anxiety, even when they seem illogical. Performing rituals, repetitive actions with symbolic meaning, can significantly reduce anxiety and increase feelings of control. This works even when people know the ritual has no logical connection to the outcome they desire. Athletes have pre-game rituals. Students have test-taking rituals. The content matters less than the consistency and meaning attributed to it. Rituals work by creating a sense of order and predictability in uncertain situations. They focus attention, reduce rumination, and provide a sense of agency. Brain imaging shows that rituals can activate reward pathways and reduce activity in areas associated with anxiety. Cultural and religious rituals serve similar functions on a larger scale, providing communities with shared practices that create meaning and cohesion. Even simple personal rituals, like a bedtime routine or morning coffee made a certain way, can provide psychological benefits. They mark transitions, signal your brain that a particular state or activity is beginning, and create small islands of predictability in an unpredictable world. In their repetition, rituals offer comfort and a sense that, at least in this small way, you have some control. Your mood affects your posture, and posture affects your mood. The relationship between body and mind is bidirectional. When you're sad or anxious, you tend to slouch, cross your arms, and make yourself smaller. When you're confident or happy, you stand taller, open your chest, and take up more space. But this also works in reverse. Deliberately adopting an upright, open posture can improve mood and increase confidence. Studies show that people who sit up straight report higher self-esteem and better mood than those who slouch. The effect likely works through multiple pathways, including feedback from muscles to the brain, changes in breathing, and even hormonal shifts. Power posing research, though debated, has shown that expansive postures can affect how you feel and behave, even if the hormonal claims were overstated. The practical takeaway is simple. When you're feeling low, checking your posture and adjusting it can provide a small boost. You're not faking it. You're using your body to influence your mind, working with the integration between physical and mental states. Sometimes the quickest path to a different feeling is through a different physical position. Social connection strengthens immune function. Loneliness and social isolation are associated with weakened immune response, increased inflammation, and higher mortality rates. Conversely, strong social connections, feeling loved, supported, and part of a community boost immune function and overall health. The effects are comparable to quitting smoking or maintaining a healthy weight. Human beings evolved as deeply social creatures, and our biology reflects that. Connection is not a luxury, but a fundamental need, as important as food or sleep. This doesn't necessarily mean having many friends. Quality matters more than quantity. Even one close relationship can provide significant health benefits. The mechanisms are complex, involving stress hormones, immune signaling, and behavioral factors. Connected people tend to take better care of themselves and have support during difficult times. But there also seem to be direct biological pathways through which feeling cared for affects cellular function. In a very real way, love and connection are medicines, strengthening the body's defenses and supporting healing. Isolation, by contrast, is a stressor with profound physical consequences. Small improvements compound over time. The concept of marginal gains, improving by just 1% consistently, can lead to remarkable changes over time. This applies to skills, habits, and well-being. A tiny improvement is manageable and sustainable in a way that dramatic change often isn't. Over days and weeks, these small gains multiply. This is partly psychological. Small wins build confidence and momentum, but it's also mathematical. Incremental improvements compound, each building on the last. In contrast, trying to change everything at once usually leads to burnout and regression. The challenge is that small improvements feel insignificant in the moment. You have to trust the process and maintain consistency without immediate gratification. But for those who do, the results over months and years can be transformative. This applies to practicing an instrument, building a meditation habit, improving fitness, or gradually shifting thought patterns. The key is identifying small, specific actions you can repeat and then doing them consistently, not perfectly, but persistently. Over time, those small steps carry you much farther than you can see from where you're standing. Wonder can temporarily stop your inner voice. Experiences of awe and wonder, seeing a breathtaking landscape, hearing extraordinary music, witnessing something vast or beautiful, can quiet the stream of internal narration that normally runs through your mind. This is one reason why such experiences feel so refreshing. They provide a break from self-focused thinking. Research shows that awe shifts attention outward and expands your sense of time. Minutes can feel longer when you're absorbed in something awe-inspiring. The experience also tends to make people feel more connected to others and more willing to help. There's something about recognizing your smallness in a vast context that paradoxically feels uplifting rather than diminishing. It provides perspective. Your concerns don't disappear, but they're placed in a larger frame. Modern life provides fewer opportunities for awe than humans historically experienced, but you can cultivate it intentionally. Seek out beauty, scale, or complexity that surpasses easy comprehension. Let yourself be impressed. In those moments when wonder stops your internal chatter, you glimpse a different mode of being, one less entangled in self and more open to the world. You can train your brain to need less sleep, but you probably shouldn't. Some people claim to thrive on very little sleep, and short sleep ability does exist genetically in a tiny fraction of the population. But for most people, consistently sleeping less than 7 hours impairs cognitive function, emotional regulation, and physical health. The dangerous thing is that you adapt to sleep deprivation. After a while, you stop noticing how impaired you are. You feel normal, but performance testing reveals significant deficits. Your brain cannot be trained to need less sleep any more than your body can be trained to need less food. The need is biological. What changes is your awareness of the deficit. Modern culture often glorifies sleep deprivation as a sign of hard work or productivity, but the research is clear. Sleep is when the brain consolidates memories, clears toxins, and performs essential maintenance. Shortchanging it has cumulative effects on health, creativity, and longevity. Prioritizing sleep is not laziness or indulgence. It's basic biological necessity. The most productive thing you can do is often simply to get adequate rest. Doodling during meetings improves memory retention. Far from being a sign of distraction, doodling while listening can actually help you remember information better. The light, cognitive load of doodling prevents your mind from wandering too far without demanding so much attention that you can't listen. In one study, people who doodled while listening to a dull phone message recalled more details than those who just listened. The effect seems to work by keeping you engaged just enough to stay present. Complete idleness allows the mind to drift into unrelated thoughts. Doodling occupies that excess mental capacity without interfering with auditory processing. Many people feel guilty about doodling in professional settings, worried it appears disrespectful. But the research suggests the opposite. Doodlers may be processing information more effectively than those sitting perfectly still. The key is that it's unconscious, automatic doodling, not trying to draw something specific. The hand moves while the ears listen and the brain integrates. In that gentle dual engagement, information finds its way into memory more securely. You remember stories better than facts. Information presented as narrative is far more memorable than the same information presented as isolated facts or data. Stories engage multiple brain systems simultaneously, including language, sensory areas, and emotional centers. This creates richer, more interconnected memories. When someone tells you a story, your brain activates as if you're experiencing the events yourself. This is why stories are humanity's oldest teaching tool. Before written language, essential knowledge was encoded in stories and passed down through generations. The structure of narrative, with characters, conflict, and resolution, provides a framework that makes information easier to retrieve. When you need to remember something important, placing it within a story dramatically improves retention. This is also why personal anecdotes often communicate more effectively than statistics. The story makes the information feel relevant and memorable. Your brain is not designed to hold random facts. It's designed to understand experience, and experience comes packaged as narrative. Stories are the language your memory speaks most fluently. Brief, Cold exposure can boost mood and alertness. Short exposure to cold, whether a cold shower, cold plunge, or even splashing cold water on your face, triggers a release of norepinephrine and other neurotransmitters that increase alertness and mood. The shock of cold activates the sympathetic nervous system, the body's activation response. This can feel invigorating and, with practice, even pleasant. Some research suggests that regular cold exposure may have antidepressant effects, though more study is needed. The practice has been used in various cultures for centuries, from Scandinavian ice swimming to cold water immersion after saunas. The key is that the exposure is brief and voluntary. Prolonged cold is dangerous, but a minute or two can provide a physiological reset, shaking off sluggishness and sharpening focus. The practice also seems to build resilience. Learning to stay calm and breathe through the discomfort of cold water can translate to staying calm through other types of discomfort. It's a form of voluntary stress that, in small doses, can strengthen your adaptive capacity. Your earliest memories are probably not real. Most people can't reliably remember events from before age 3, and memories from ages 3 to 7 are often fragmented or inaccurate. Yet many people report having vivid early memories. Research suggests these are often reconstructions based on family stories, photographs, and imagination rather than true autobiographical memories. The brain's memory systems aren't sufficiently developed in early childhood to form the kind of detailed, lasting memories we have later. This doesn't mean those early years don't matter. They shape us profoundly, but our conscious recall of them is limited. What feels like remembering is often a story you've been told so many times that it's become your own. The photos you've seen have created visual associations, your mind mistakes for memory. This reconstruction process continues throughout life. Every time you recall a memory, you're slightly rewriting it. Memory is not a recording, but a living, changing story your mind tells about the past. And the earliest chapters of that story are largely fiction, beautiful and meaningful, but fiction nonetheless. Giving gifts activates reward centers more than receiving. Brain imaging studies show that giving a gift or money to someone else lights up reward pathways in the brain more intensely than receiving gifts yourself. This suggests that generosity is intrinsically rewarding, not just something we do to be polite or to get something in return. The effect is particularly strong when giving is voluntary and directed toward people we care about. This neural response likely evolved because generosity strengthens social bonds, which historically increased survival. But it also means that the cliché is true. Giving really does feel better than receiving, at least in terms of the brain's reward systems. This doesn't work if giving is forced or creates financial hardship. The key is that it feels good to choose to share resources with others. In a consumer culture focused on acquisition, this finding is a reminder that some of the deepest satisfaction comes not from getting more, but from giving what you have. The joy of generosity is built into your biology, waiting to be activated whenever you reach out with an open hand. Your sense of smell is linked directly to memory. Unlike other senses, smell bypasses the thalamus and connects directly to the limbic system, where emotions and memories are processed. This direct connection explains why scents can trigger such immediate and powerful memories, often with strong emotional content. A smell can transport you to a specific moment from decades ago with a vividness that surprises you. This phenomenon, sometimes called the Proust effect after the writer who famously described it, shows how deeply scent and memory are intertwined. Olfactory memories tend to be older and more emotional than memories triggered by other senses. This makes scent a powerful tool for evoking specific states or times. People sometimes keep a bottle of perfume from a loved one who's passed or associate certain smells with comfort. Working with scent intentionally, using a specific fragrance during study, and then again during a test, for example, can improve recall. The nose is a direct pathway to the memory centers, a sense that speaks the language of time and emotion more fluently than any other. Music can synchronize heartbeats between listeners. When people listen to the same music together, their heart rates and breathing patterns begin to synchronize. This creates a physiological sense of connection beyond the shared auditory experience. The effect is strongest with slower, more predictable music. The rhythm entrains biological rhythms, pulling them into alignment. This is one reason why group singing, drumming circles, and communal music experiences have been central to human culture across time and geography. Music creates not just emotional, but physiological unity. When a crowd sways together at a concert or a choir breathes in unison, they're not just sharing a moment, they're literally synchronizing their biology. This synchronization seems to increase feelings of bonding and empathy. After shared musical experiences, people report feeling more connected to those who were present. In rhythm and melody, bodies find common ground. Individual heartbeats merge into a collective pulse, a reminder that music is not just something you hear, but something you become part of, joining your physical being with others through the invisible architecture of sound. Regular routines reduce decision fatigue. Every decision you make during the day, even small ones, uses mental energy. By the end of the day, this can lead to decision fatigue, where your ability to make good choices degrades. This is why people often make poor food choices in the evening, or why important negotiations are better scheduled for morning. Routines and habits reduce decision fatigue by automating choices. When you have a morning routine, you don't have to decide what to do next. You just follow the pattern. This preserves mental energy for more important decisions. Many high-performing people adopt simple routines for meals, clothing, and daily schedules precisely for this reason. It's not about lack of creativity, but about conservation of cognitive resources. Habits take something that required conscious thought and move it into automatic processing. This frees up your conscious mind for tasks that genuinely require attention. In a world of endless options, routines are not limiting, but liberating. They clear away trivial decisions so you can focus on what actually matters. Sometimes, the best decision is to not have to decide at all. You adapt to good things quickly. Hedonic adaptation describes the human tendency to return to a baseline level of happiness despite positive life changes. You get a raise, buy a new car, or move to a better apartment, and initially it feels wonderful. But within weeks or months, you've adapted. The new normal becomes invisible, and you're back to your baseline mood. This can be disappointing, but it's also a source of resilience. It means that even difficult circumstances become easier to bear over time. The implication is that lasting happiness comes less from changing circumstances and more from ongoing practices and perspectives. Activities that remain fresh, social connection, learning, helping others, gratitude, tend to provide more sustained well-being than one-time acquisitions. Understanding hedonic adaptation can help you set realistic expectations. The new house won't make you happy forever, but it can also encourage you to savor positive experiences fully while they are still novel. And it highlights the importance of building a life around sustainable sources of meaning, rather than chasing the next achievement or purchase that promises happiness but delivers only temporary pleasure. The brain prioritizes negative information. Our ancestors who paid more attention to threats lived longer than those who didn't. This survival advantage has left us with a negativity bias. Your brain is more attentive to negative information than positive, remembers insults longer than compliments, and gives more weight to criticism than praise. One negative comment can overshadow 10 positive ones. While this bias kept our ancestors alive in modern environments with fewer life-threatening dangers, it can skew perception toward the negative. You might remember the one awkward moment in an otherwise lovely evening, or focus on the single criticism in an otherwise glowing review. Understanding this bias doesn't eliminate it, but it can help you consciously balance your perspective. You can practice deliberately noticing and acknowledging positive experiences, knowing your brain won't do this automatically. It's not about forced positivity, but about countering an evolutionary tendency that no longer serves you well. With awareness, you can recognize that your spontaneous focus on the negative is a feature of your brain's design, not an accurate measure of reality. And from that recognition, you can begin to adjust. The brain prefers curved shapes over angular ones. When viewing objects, people consistently rate items with curved edges as more pleasant and less threatening than those with sharp angles. Brain imaging reveals that curved shapes activate reward centers more strongly than angular ones. This preference appears across cultures and emerges early in development, suggesting it may be innate. Evolutionary psychologists propose that sharp angles unconsciously signal danger, perhaps because they're associated with weapons, sharp rocks, or aggressive facial expressions. Curves, by contrast, suggest softness and safety. Architects and designers use this knowledge intentionally. Buildings, furniture, and products with curved elements tend to feel more welcoming and comfortable. Even subtle curves can shift the emotional tone of a space. The effect is powerful enough that simply adding rounded edges to harsh angles can make an environment feel more relaxing. Your brain is constantly reading the geometry around you, making split-second assessments about safety and comfort based on the shapes that surround you, all without conscious awareness. Familiar voices activate unique brain patterns. The sound of a loved one's voice creates a distinctive neural signature that differs from how your brain processes unfamiliar voices. Recognition happens within milliseconds, even before you've consciously identified who's speaking. This rapid processing involves areas of the brain associated with reward, emotion, and social cognition. Hearing a familiar voice can lower stress hormones and increase feelings of safety and connection. This is why hearing the voice of someone you love can be instantly comforting, even if they're just saying something mundane. The effect works in reverse, too. Unfamiliar voices require more cognitive effort to process, which is one reason why talking to strangers can feel more tiring than chatting with close friends. Your brain has built detailed models of the voices that matter most to you, complete with emotional associations and predictive patterns. Each familiar voice is like a key that unlocks specific neural pathways, activating memories, emotions, and a sense of connection that goes far deeper than the words being spoken. Laughter is contagious through mirror neurons. When you hear someone laugh, neurons in your brain that are associated with facial movements activate, preparing your face to smile or laugh too. These mirror neurons create an automatic, unconscious mimicry that helps you connect with others emotionally. This is why laughter spreads so easily through groups, and why laugh tracks on television shows actually do make things seem funnier. The contagion happens faster than conscious thought. Your brain registers the sound of laughter and immediately begins to simulate it, often triggering the genuine emotion that goes with it. Interestingly, different types of laughter trigger different responses. Genuine, spontaneous laughter is more contagious than forced or polite laughter. Your brain can distinguish between the two, even if you can't consciously articulate the difference. This neural mirroring is part of what makes humans such deeply social creatures. Through mirror neurons, emotions ripple outward, connecting people in invisible networks of shared feeling. Physical warmth and emotional warmth share neural pathways. The same brain regions that process physical temperature also handle social warmth and connection. This overlap explains why we use temperature metaphors for relationships: a warm personality, a cold shoulder, a heated argument. These aren't just figures of speech. They reflect how your brain actually organizes information. Studies show that physical coldness makes people feel more socially isolated, while warmth increases feelings of interpersonal closeness. This connection goes deep. Early in development, warmth and care are intertwined. Infants who are held close experience both physical warmth and emotional bonding simultaneously, creating neural associations that last a lifetime. This is why a warm bath can feel emotionally soothing, or why cold weather sometimes makes loneliness feel more acute. Your brain doesn't completely separate physical and emotional experience. They're woven together, each influencing the other in a constant dialogue between body and mind. Uncertainty can be more stressful than guaranteed bad outcomes. When facing an unknown outcome, your brain's stress response can actually be higher than when facing a certain negative outcome. The ambiguity itself is stressful because your brain can't prepare or plan effectively. Studies show that people sometimes prefer knowing something bad will happen over living with uncertainty, even if the uncertain outcome might be better. This is because predictability, even of negative events, allows for mental preparation and a sense of control. The unknown keeps stress systems activated, constantly scanning for threats that might never materialize. This is why waiting for medical test results can be agonizing, or why job insecurity is so draining. The stress of not knowing can exceed the stress of bad news. Understanding this can help you recognize when anxiety is being driven by uncertainty rather than actual threat. Sometimes, seeking information or accepting that you cannot know can provide relief. Other times, learning to tolerate uncertainty, to rest in not knowing, becomes its own form of peace. Humans can detect genuine smiles unconsciously. You can usually tell the difference between a real smile and a fake one, even if you don't know why. Genuine smiles involve not just the mouth, but also the muscles around the eyes, creating small wrinkles and a slight squint. These eye movements are controlled by involuntary muscles, making them very difficult to fake convincingly. Research shows that even when people can't consciously identify what makes a smile seem real or false, they still rate genuine smiles as more trustworthy and likable. This ability helps you navigate social situations, providing rapid feedback about whether someone is truly pleased or just being polite. The skill appears early in development and persists throughout life. Interestingly, people who have had Botox injections around their eyes may inadvertently signal less warmth to others because the frozen muscles can't create the eye crinkling that marks genuine happiness. Your face tells stories your words might not. And every day, you're reading those stories in the faces around you, processing a silent language of authenticity and emotion. Your brain filters reality more than you realize. What you perceive is not objective reality, but a constructed model created by your brain. Sensory information comes in constantly, far more than consciousness can handle, so your brain filters aggressively, keeping what seems relevant and discarding the rest. This process is so seamless, you never notice it happening. But it means you're always living in a simplified, interpreted version of the world. Your expectations, past experiences, and current focus all shape what makes it through the filter. Two people can witness the same event and perceive it quite differently because their brains are filtering and constructing differently. This isn't a flaw, it's necessary. Without filtering, you'd be overwhelmed by the flood of sensory data, but it's humbling to recognize that your experience of reality is always mediated, always partial, always shaped by the particular lens through which your brain has learned to see. What you call reality is, in some sense, a collaborative fiction between the world and your mind. Silence after music can feel profound. When music ends, especially after a moving piece, the silence that follows often feels different from ordinary quiet. It can seem fuller, more present, almost tangible. This happens because your brain has been tracking patterns and anticipating what comes next. When the music stops, there's a moment where that anticipatory system is still active, listening for something that isn't there. This creates a unique quality of attention, a listening silence rather than mere absence of sound. Composers have long understood this. The pause after the final note is part of the composition, a moment for the emotion and meaning to settle. In that silence, you're still hearing the music in a sense, still processing its emotional resonance. The space after sound can carry as much meaning as the sound itself. It's a reminder that absence and presence are not opposites but partners, each giving meaning to the other. In the silence after music, you hear not nothing but the echo of something that has just shaped you. Walking side by side makes conversation easier. There's a reason people often have meaningful conversations while walking together. The lack of direct eye contact reduces social pressure and self-consciousness, making it easier to open up. Walking also provides a natural rhythm and shared activity that can ease awkward silences. Additionally, the gentle physical activity increases blood flow to the brain and can improve cognitive function, potentially making it easier to articulate complex thoughts. Therapists sometimes use walking sessions for exactly these reasons. The movement and side-by-side positioning can help clients feel less vulnerable, and more willing to discuss difficult topics. For friends or partners, a walk offers a way to connect that feels less intense than sitting face to face, but more engaged than being absorbed in separate activities. The shared motion creates a sense of moving forward together, both literally and metaphorically, in the rhythm of footsteps and the unfolding path ahead. Conversation finds a natural flow. Babies can distinguish all language sounds at birth. Newborns are universal listeners, capable of distinguishing between phonemes from any language in the world. This includes sound differences that don't exist in their native language. But by around 10 months, babies begin to lose the ability to hear distinctions that aren't present in the languages they're regularly exposed to. Their brains essentially prune away the unused perceptual categories to become more efficient at processing the sounds that matter in their environment. This process makes you a specialist in your native language, but costs you the universal perception you were born with. Adults learning a new language often struggle with sound distinctions that babies find easy because their brains have already committed to different categories. This early neural plasticity is remarkable. It shows how experience literally shapes perception, fine-tuning the brain to the specific patterns it encounters most often. Every baby starts as a citizen of all languages and gradually becomes a specialist in one or a few, trading breadth for depth. You can smell fear in others. When people experience fear, their sweat contains chemical signatures that others can detect, usually unconsciously. Studies show that smelling fear sweat can increase your own anxiety and vigilance, even when you're not aware of the smell. This chemosensory communication likely evolved as an early warning system, allowing groups to respond collectively to threats. If one person senses danger and begins producing stress-related odors, others pick up on it and become more alert, even without knowing why. The effect works with other emotions too. Happiness-related scents can boost mood in those nearby. This invisible layer of chemical communication operates beneath conscious awareness most of the time, subtly influencing the emotional atmosphere of shared spaces. It's a reminder that you're constantly exchanging information with others through channels you rarely acknowledge. The emotional states of those around you aren't just visible in body language and facial expressions. They're literally in the air, speaking a molecular language your body understands. Trees can reduce mental fatigue. The presence of trees, whether in a park or visible through a window, has measurable effects on mental restoration. Studies show that views of trees can lower stress, improve mood, and help recover from mental fatigue faster than views of buildings or open spaces without vegetation. Hospital patients with views of trees have been shown to recover faster and require less pain medication than those looking at brick walls. The effect seems to come from the particular visual complexity of trees. They're interesting enough to hold attention gently, but not so chaotic or demanding that they create mental strain. This type of soft fascination allows the brain's directed attention systems to rest. Trees also signal a living environment, one with water, oxygen, and the resources needed for survival. At some level, the sight of trees communicates abundance and safety. Whether from an evolutionary perspective or simply through learned association, your brain finds trees inherently calming. A single tree can become a portal to restoration. The brain fills gaps in speech automatically. When listening to someone speak in a noisy environment, your brain doesn't hear every word, but you rarely notice the gaps because your brain fills them in based on context, expectation, and knowledge of language patterns. This completion happens so quickly and seamlessly that you experience it as hearing the actual words. The same process occurs in vision, where the brain fills in blind spots and other missing information. This demonstrates that perception is not passive reception but active construction. Your brain is constantly predicting what should be there and only paying close attention when predictions are violated. This efficiency allows you to function in messy, imperfect conditions. But it also means you're sometimes hearing or seeing things that weren't actually there, experiencing your brain's best guess rather than objective reality. When someone mishears a word in a way that seems bizarre, it's often because their brain filled in differently than yours did. Each person is constantly reconstructing reality based on slightly different predictions. Creating art activates the brain's reward system. Whether painting, drawing, sculpting, or any other form of creative expression, making art triggers dopamine release in the brain's reward pathways. This happens even if you're not skilled, and even if you never show anyone what you've created. The act of creation itself is intrinsically rewarding. Brain imaging shows that making art activates regions associated with pleasure, focus, and emotional processing. It also reduces activity in areas related to self-criticism and social judgment, creating a mental state where you're less concerned with evaluation and more absorbed in the process. This is part of why art therapy is effective for various conditions, from anxiety to trauma. The creative process provides a way to express and process emotions without words, while simultaneously generating positive neurochemical rewards. You don't need to be an artist to benefit. Simple creative activities, coloring, arranging objects, making music, can provide similar effects. The brain loves to create, and giving it that opportunity is a form of neurological nourishment. Your pupils reveal cognitive effort. When you're thinking hard, solving a problem or processing complex information, your pupils dilate slightly. This dilation is proportional to mental effort. The harder you're thinking, the larger your pupils become. Researchers can actually gauge cognitive load by measuring pupil size. This happens because the same nervous system that controls pupil size is also involved in attention and arousal. Increased mental effort activates this system, causing dilation. Conversely, when a problem is solved or when you give up, pupils contract. This provides an unconscious signal of mental state. People can pick up on these subtle changes even without realizing it, getting a sense of whether someone is struggling, focused, or relaxed. Poker players sometimes wear sunglasses partly for this reason. Pupil size can betray not just attraction or emotion, but also the mental effort of bluffing or calculating odds. Your eyes are windows not just to emotion, but to the very act of thinking itself, growing wider as your mind works harder. Experiencing nature reduces rumination. Rumination, repetitive negative thinking about yourself and your problems, is a major feature of anxiety and depression. Studies show that spending time in natural settings significantly reduces rumination, while urban environments have less effect or may even increase it. Brain scans reveal that nature walks decrease activity in the prefrontal cortex region associated with rumination. The exact mechanisms aren't fully understood, but the effect is consistent and meaningful. Nature seems to interrupt the cycle of negative, self-focused thought, perhaps by capturing attention in a gentle, restorative way, or by providing perspective that makes personal concerns feel less overwhelming. Even brief exposure, a 20-minute walk in a park, can shift mental patterns away from rumination. For people trapped in cycles of worry and negative thinking, nature isn't just pleasant. It's therapeutic. The trees, sky, and living things around you create an environment where the mind can step outside its usual patterns and find a different rhythm. One less focused on problems and more open to simply being present. Red can increase heart rate slightly. Exposure to the color red can cause small increases in heart rate, blood pressure, and arousal. This effect is subtle but measurable. Red is associated with alertness, passion, and danger across many cultures. The color can enhance physical performance slightly in some contexts, which may be why many sports teams choose red uniforms. However, red can also increase anxiety in test-taking situations or other stressful contexts. The physiological response to red likely has evolutionary roots. Red signals important information: ripe fruit, blood, flushed faces indicating emotion or exertion. Your brain has learned to pay attention to red, and that attention comes with a slight activation of your sympathetic nervous system. Interior designers and marketers use this knowledge strategically. Red can create energy and excitement, but can also feel overwhelming if overused. In spaces meant for relaxation, red is typically minimized. The colors surrounding you are not neutral. They're constantly sending subtle signals to your nervous system, gently pushing you toward activation or calm. Scent affects perceived taste more than taste buds. When you eat, what you experience as taste is actually a combination of taste, smell, and texture. The taste buds on your tongue can detect only 5 basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. All the complexity and nuance of flavor comes primarily from smell. When you chew, aromatic compounds travel up the back of your throat to your nasal cavity, where they're detected by olfactory receptors. This is called retronasal olfaction, and is responsible for most of what you experience as flavor. This is why food tastes bland when you have a stuffy nose. Your taste buds are working fine, but you've lost most of the aromatic information. Wine experts, coffee tasters, and chefs are really experts in smell more than taste. They've trained their olfactory systems to detect and identify subtle aromatic differences. The next time you eat something delicious, notice how much of the experience is actually happening in your nose. The tongue plays a supporting role, but smell is the lead actor in the complex performance you call taste. Humans synchronize their movements unconsciously. When two people walk together, their steps gradually fall into rhythm. When sitting near someone, your breathing patterns can begin to sync. When conversing, people unconsciously mirror each other's gestures, postures, and even speech patterns. This synchronization happens automatically and seems to serve social bonding functions. The more people synchronize, the more they tend to like each other and feel connected. This is why activities that require coordination, dancing, singing together, team sports, can create strong social bonds. You're literally moving in harmony, and your brain interprets this as evidence of connection and cooperation. The phenomenon extends beyond movement. Emotional states synchronize too. Spend time with someone anxious, and you may become anxious. Sit with someone calm, and you may calm down. In every interaction, you're engaged in an intricate dance of mutual influence, each person subtly shaping the rhythms and states of the other through mostly unconscious channels of coordination. Mindful breathing can lower inflammation. The way you breathe affects your immune system and inflammatory responses. Slow, deep breathing activates the vagus nerve, which in turn influences immune function and reduces inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. Studies show that regular breathing practices can measurably decrease chronic inflammation, which is linked to numerous health conditions from heart disease to depression. The mechanism involves the parasympathetic nervous system, which regulates not just stress, but also immune responses. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you're signaling your body that you're safe, which allows resources to shift from stress response to maintenance and repair. This isn't just relaxation. It's biological regulation happening in real time. You can influence your inflammatory state, your immune function, and even gene expression through something as simple as breath. The practice doesn't require any special equipment or settings. In any moment, you can take 3 slow breaths and create measurable changes in your body's chemistry. The breath is a bridge between conscious intention and unconscious physiology. Your emotions can be changed by naming them. The simple act of putting a label on what you're feeling can reduce the intensity of the emotion, especially negative ones. Psychologists call this affect labeling. When you say, either aloud or internally, "I'm feeling anxious" or "I'm angry," it activates language regions in the prefrontal cortex. This activation seems to help regulate the limbic system where emotions originate. Brain imaging shows that labeling emotions reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. The effect is strongest when the label is accurate and specific. Saying "I feel frustrated and disappointed" is more helpful than just "I feel bad." This is one reason why therapy and journaling can be so effective. They create space for naming and articulating emotional experiences. The name doesn't make the feeling disappear, but it often makes it more manageable. There's something about translating the wordless intensity of emotion into language that gives you a handle on it, transforming overwhelming sensation into something your thinking mind can work with. In naming the feeling, you step slightly outside it, creating space between you and the emotion. Forest air contains mood-boosting compounds. Trees release organic compounds called phytoncides, which have antimicrobial properties that protect the trees from disease and insects. When you breathe forest air, you inhale these compounds, and research suggests they may benefit human health. Studies show that time spent in forests can boost immune function, reduce stress hormones, and improve mood. Some of these effects appear to come specifically from inhaling phytoncides. The compounds may trigger beneficial changes in the nervous system and immune function. While more research is needed, the preliminary findings suggest that forest bathing provides benefits beyond just psychological relaxation or beauty. There's something in the air itself, the chemical signature of living trees, that your body responds to positively. This makes a walk in the forest not just a pleasant experience, but a form of aromatherapy, where the scents you're breathing are actively supporting your well-being. the forest isn't just scenery. It's an environment that communicates with your biology in subtle, beneficial ways. People remember interrupted tasks better than completed ones. When a task is interrupted before completion, it creates a kind of mental tension that keeps the task active in your mind. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, and it explains why unfinished business tends to nag at you while completed tasks fade from awareness. Your brain holds on to the interrupted task, maintaining readiness to return to it. This can be useful for remembering what you need to do, but can also create stress when you have many unfinished tasks competing for mental attention. One way to reduce this stress is by making a clear plan for when you'll return to interrupted tasks. Once your brain knows there's a plan, it can release some of the mental tension. This is why making a to-do list before bed can help you sleep better. You're essentially telling your brain, "Don't worry, we've got this noted down. We'll handle it tomorrow." The brain can then let go of actively maintaining those open loops. Completion brings closure not just practically, but psychologically, freeing up mental resources and allowing your attention to settle. Handwritten thank you notes have outsized impact. In an age of digital communication, a handwritten note stands out. Research shows that handwritten messages are perceived as more thoughtful, sincere, and meaningful than typed ones. The time and effort required to write by hand signals that the recipient mattered enough for you to slow down. Recipients of handwritten thank you notes report feeling more appreciated and more warmly toward the sender than recipients of emailed thanks. The physical object also has staying power. A note can be kept, reread, and saved in ways that emails rarely are. There's something about seeing someone's handwriting, the unique shapes and imperfections, that feels personal and intimate. It's a trace of their physical presence, their hand moving across paper. In a world of instant, effortless communication, choosing the slower, more deliberate path of a handwritten note becomes a powerful act of connection. The message might be simple, just a few lines, but the medium itself communicates care. In the loops and curves of handwritten words, appreciation becomes tangible. Your brain waves synchronize during good conversation. When two people engage in meaningful conversation, their brain activity begins to align. Neural oscillations synchronize, particularly in regions involved in language processing and social cognition. This coupling is stronger during engaging, natural conversation than during other forms of interaction. It's as if the two brains are temporarily linked, operating in coordination. This synchronization may facilitate understanding and rapport. When brains are coupled, each person can better predict what the other is thinking and feeling. The effect is bidirectional. Both people's brains adjust to match each other, creating a shared neural state. This is part of what makes a good conversation feel so satisfying. You're not just exchanging words, you're temporarily merging mental processes, creating a kind of extended mind between two people. When conversation feels effortless and connecting, it's partly because your brains have found a common rhythm. In those moments, the boundary between minds becomes more fluid, and understanding flows more easily. Specific sounds can trigger deep relaxation. Certain sounds seem particularly effective at inducing calm, including low-frequency sounds like humming or chanting, nature sounds like rain or ocean waves, and rhythmic patterns like a heartbeat or gentle drumming. These sounds engage the auditory system in ways that promote relaxation, often by providing predictable, non-threatening stimulation that allows the mind to rest. Low-frequency sounds can have physical effects too, creating vibrations that may directly influence the nervous system. This is why many meditation practices incorporate sound, whether through chanting, singing bowls, or listening to specially designed music. The right sound can act as an anchor for attention, giving the wandering mind something to focus on without requiring cognitive effort. Different sounds work for different people. Some find white noise soothing, while others prefer silence. Finding your sound, the auditory environment that helps your nervous system settle, can be a valuable tool for managing stress and promoting rest. Sound is not just what you hear. It's an environmental factor that shapes your internal state in powerful ways. Slow movements can calm racing thoughts. When your mind is racing and thoughts tumble over each other in exhausting succession, deliberately slowing your physical movements can help quiet the mental noise. This works because mind and body are deeply interconnected. Rapid, jerky movements feed mental agitation, while slow, intentional movements signal safety and calm to your nervous system. Try moving in slow motion for just a minute. Stand up slowly, walk slowly, reach for something with deliberate care. This practice interrupts the feedback loop between physical tension and mental stress. Many contemplative traditions incorporate slow, mindful movement for exactly this reason. Tai Chi, slow walking meditation, gentle yoga. These practices use the body to influence the mind, creating a state of calm through physical pacing. When thoughts are spinning too fast to catch, sometimes the solution isn't to think your way out, but to move your way into a different state. The body leads, and the mind follows, gradually matching the slower, steadier rhythm you've created through movement. Your brain rewires itself when you learn names. Each time you successfully learn and remember someone's name, you strengthen neural pathways involved in social cognition and memory. The hippocampus, crucial for memory formation, works together with regions that process faces and social information. Forgetting names is common because names are arbitrary labels without inherent meaning, making them harder to encode than other types of information. But with practice and intention, you can improve. Techniques like creating mental associations, repeating the name immediately, or connecting it to something meaningful can help the information stick. What's interesting is that the effort itself, really trying to remember names, strengthens broader memory systems. You're not just learning names, you're exercising the neural machinery of attention and recall. People whose names you remember feel valued and seen, and you benefit cognitively from the practice. It's a small social skill with cascading effects, strengthening both relationships and the brain systems that support memory. Awe can alter your sense of time. Experiences that inspire awe, seeing a vast landscape, witnessing something beautiful or overwhelming, perceiving something much larger than yourself, can actually change how you perceive time. People experiencing awe consistently report feeling that they have more time available. Minutes feel longer. Days feel less rushed. This isn't just subjective. The sense of expanded time leads to measurable changes in behavior. People in awe states are more patient, less materialistic, and more willing to volunteer their time to help others. The effect seems to work by shifting attention away from self and immediate concerns toward something larger. In the presence of vastness or beauty, your personal timeline feels less pressing. Psychologists suggest that awe may have evolved to help us grapple with things beyond individual comprehension, creating a mental state suited for learning and growth. In a culture that constantly feels time-starved, seeking out awe might be one way to feel that time expands rather than contracts. In wonder, the clock slows down. The color green can improve creativity. Exposure to the color green, even just looking at it briefly before a creative task, can enhance creative performance. Studies show that people generate more and more original ideas after seeing green compared to other colors. The effect may work through associations with growth, nature, and vitality. Green signals an environment that's alive and flourishing, which may unconsciously prime thoughts of possibility and renewal. The association doesn't have to be conscious. Just having green in your visual field can shift mental states slightly toward openness and exploration. This is one reason why having plants in workspaces may boost more than just mood. The greenery provides ongoing subtle cues that support creative thinking. Interior designers and architects sometimes use green intentionally in spaces meant for innovation and brainstorming. While the effect is modest, every small environmental factor that nudges your brain toward creativity can add up. Color is not decoration. It's information your brain uses to calibrate mood, energy, and thought patterns. Touching natural materials reduces stress. Wood, stone, cotton, wool. Natural materials feel different than synthetic ones, and your brain knows the difference. Research shows that touching natural materials, especially wood, can lower stress responses and create feelings of warmth and comfort. In contrast, synthetic materials like plastic or metal can feel cold and impersonal, even when they're the same temperature. The effect likely comes from evolutionary history. For most of human existence, everything we touched was natural. Our sensory systems evolved in contact with organic materials. Modern synthetics are too recent for deep biological adaptation. This is why wooden furniture, cotton bedding, or stone countertops can make a space feel more welcoming than plastic and metal equivalents. It's not just aesthetics. It's tactile information that your nervous system processes and responds to. In environments filled with synthetic materials, bringing in natural textures can create surprising shifts in how the space feels. Your skin is constantly gathering information, and what it touches shapes your internal state in ways you rarely notice, but constantly experience. Positive expectations can reduce pain perception. When you expect something will hurt less, it often does. This is the placebo effect in action, and it's not just in your head. Brain imaging shows that positive expectations actually change how pain signals are processed in the brain. Regions that interpret pain become less active when you believe relief is coming. This is why a sugar pill, when given with the suggestion that it's a powerful painkiller, can produce measurable reductions in pain. The brain's pain system is remarkably influenced by context, belief, and expectation. This doesn't mean pain isn't real. It means that pain is more complex than simple sensation. It's an experience constructed by the brain, influenced by multiple factors including what you believe and expect. Understanding this can be empowering. While you can't always control pain, you can sometimes influence how you relate to it and what you expect from it. approaching discomfort with the expectation that it will be manageable can actually make it more manageable. Belief shapes biology in ways that continue to surprise researchers. Your childhood experiences shape your stress responses. The patterns you develop in early life for responding to stress can persist throughout your lifetime. Children who grow up in consistently safe, supportive environments tend to develop more adaptive stress responses. Their nervous systems learn that stress is temporary and manageable. Children who experience chronic stress or inconsistent caregiving may develop more reactive stress systems, quicker to activate and slower to calm. These patterns become deeply embedded in how the nervous system functions, but they're not permanent. Neuroplasticity means that with awareness and practice, you can retrain your stress responses. Therapy, mindfulness practices, and safe relationships can help reshape these deep patterns. Understanding that your current stress reactions may have roots in childhood doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you can have compassion for where those reactions came from while working to create new patterns. Your nervous system learned one way to respond early on. With patience and practice, it can learn new ways, gradually shifting toward responses that serve you better in your current life. Humming activates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a key part of the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for calming and restoration. When you hum, the vibrations directly stimulate this nerve, triggering relaxation responses throughout your body. Heart rate slows, blood pressure drops, and stress hormones decrease. This is why humming, chanting, or singing can feel so soothing. You're literally vibrating your way to calm. The effect is immediate and accessible. You can hum anywhere, anytime, and create a physiological shift toward relaxation. Many ancient practices incorporated humming or toning, perhaps recognizing intuitively what science is now confirming. The Om chant, Gregorian chants, humming meditation, all create these beneficial vibrations. Even just a few minutes of gentle humming can reset your nervous system when stress has activated it. The sound doesn't need to be loud or melodic. Just the act of sustaining a hum creates the vibration that stimulates the vagus nerve. In your own body, you carry an instrument for self-soothing, always available, requiring nothing but breath and intention. Facial expressions influence others' emotions. When you smile at someone, you're not just expressing your own emotion, you're influencing theirs. Mirror neurons cause people to unconsciously mimic facial expressions they see, which then triggers the associated emotion in their own brain. Smile at someone, and they're likely to smile back, which makes them feel slightly happier. The same works with other expressions. Showing stress or frustration can spread those states to others nearby. This is why emotional contagion is so powerful. Emotions spread through groups via facial expressions, posture, and tone of voice. Being aware of this gives you some responsibility and agency. The face you wear affects not just your own emotional state, but potentially everyone you encounter. This isn't about forcing positivity or suppressing genuine feelings. It's about recognizing that emotions are social, contagious, and mutually created. When you enter a room, your emotional state radiates outward through subtle cues. And in every interaction, you're both expressing and absorbing, creating a shared emotional environment through tiny, mostly unconscious signals. Cooking can be a form of meditation. The process of preparing food, when done mindfully, engages the senses and focuses attention in ways that quiet mental chatter. The textures, smells, sounds, and movements of cooking provide rich sensory anchors for awareness. Chopping vegetables rhythmically, stirring a pot, kneading dough. These repetitive motions can induce a calm, focused state similar to meditation. Unlike meditation on a cushion, cooking provides a tangible outcome, which some people find more satisfying or accessible. The practice combines present moment awareness with creative expression and service. You're making something that will nourish yourself or others. This purposefulness can make the meditative aspects feel more natural and sustainable. Many people report that their mind settles when they cook, worries fading into the background as attention focuses on the task at hand. In a rushing world, cooking can become a sanctuary, a place where time slows and simple actions carry meaning. The kitchen becomes a practice space, each meal an opportunity to be present. Your brain processes rejection like physical pain. Social rejection activates the same neural regions that process physical pain. When you're excluded, betrayed, or rejected, it hurts in a very literal sense. Brain scans show overlap between social and physical pain systems. This isn't metaphorical. Your brain treats social pain as a real threat because, throughout human evolution, social connection was necessary for survival. Being excluded from the group could be a death sentence. Your nervous system still responds as if social rejection is physically dangerous. This is why heartbreak can feel so physically painful. Why loneliness aches. Why being left out stings. Understanding this can bring compassion to your own experiences of social pain and to others. The hurt is real and deserves to be treated seriously. Interestingly, things that reduce physical pain can also help with social pain. Social support, time, and even over-the-counter pain medication have been shown in studies to reduce the sting of social rejection. The overlap between pain systems means that emotional wounds need tending, just as physical ones do. Morning routines set the tone for the entire day. How you spend the first hour after waking has disproportionate influence on the rest of your day. This is because you're establishing patterns and setting mental and emotional trajectories. Starting with stress, immediately checking email or news creates a reactive, anxious baseline. Starting with intention, some combination of movement, mindfulness, nourishment, or creative practice creates a grounded, proactive baseline. The specific activities matter less than the quality of attention and the sense of choice. You're signaling to yourself that you have agency, that you can choose how to meet the day rather than being swept along by it. Successful routines are sustainable and genuinely nourishing, not aspirational marathons that create more stress. Even 10 minutes of intentional practice can shift the day's trajectory. The morning is a threshold, a daily opportunity to begin again. How you cross that threshold, whether rushed and reactive or intentional and grounded, echoes through the hours that follow. In the morning, you're not just waking up. You're choosing who you'll be for the day. Babies prefer faces that resemble their caregivers. Infants show preferences for faces that share characteristics with the people who care for them. If raised primarily by women, babies prefer female faces. If the mother has dark hair, babies show more interest in dark-haired faces. This early learning helps infants identify who's safe and familiar. The preferences emerge quickly within the first months of life. showing how rapidly the brain adapts to its social environment. These early templates also influence adult preferences. The faces we find attractive or trustworthy often bear subtle similarities to our early caregivers. This isn't conscious. It's a deep pattern established when the brain was first learning what a face should look like. Throughout life, those early imprints continue to shape social perception in ways we never notice. Every face you meet is being compared to templates formed in infancy, generating instant feelings of familiarity or strangeness, trust or wariness. In the faces you find yourself drawn to, you may be seeing echoes of the first faces that mattered, the ones that meant safety and love when you were most vulnerable. Deep pressure can calm an overactive nervous system. Firm, distributed pressure on the body activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting relaxation and reducing anxiety. This is the principle behind weighted blankets, tight swaddling of infants, and the calming effect of a firm hug. The pressure provides proprioceptive input, information about where your body is in space, which can be organizing and regulating for the nervous system. For people with anxiety, autism, or sensory processing differences, deep pressure can be particularly helpful. It seems to provide a sense of containment and security that helps the nervous system settle. Even for people without these specific needs, deep pressure can feel soothing. This is why being held tightly when upset can be so comforting, why some people sleep better under heavy blankets, or why pressure on certain points of the body is relaxing. The skin is the body's largest sensory organ, constantly sending information to the brain. Firm pressure sends a specific message. You are safe. You are contained. You can rest now. Your voice pitch rises when you're lying. When people lie, they often speak in a slightly higher pitch than normal. This happens because lying creates stress, which tenses the vocal cords, raising the pitch. The change is usually subtle, not dramatic, but it's detectable. This is one of many cues that people pick up on unconsciously when assessing honesty. Other vocal signs of deception include speaking faster, with more hesitations, and with less vocal variety. Of course, these cues aren't perfect. Honest people can sound deceptive when they're nervous, and skilled liars can control their vocal presentation. But on average, deception creates subtle vocal changes because it requires cognitive effort and produces anxiety. Your voice carries information beyond the words you're saying. It conveys emotion, confidence, and authenticity through pitch, rhythm, and tone. Listeners pick up on these paralinguistic cues constantly, forming impressions about truth and sincerity before conscious analysis begins. Every utterance is a complex signal, and the voice is always telling multiple stories at once. Looking at photos of loved ones reduces pain. Viewing images of people you love activates reward centers in the brain and can actually reduce the experience of pain. In studies, participants who looked at photos of romantic partners while experiencing pain reported significantly lower pain levels than those looking at photos of strangers or objects. The effect seems to work through the brain's reward and attachment systems, which can modulate pain signals. Love and attachment aren't just emotional experiences. They're neurological states that influence physical sensations, including pain. This is why having loved ones present during difficult medical procedures can help. Why thinking of someone you love during hardship provides comfort. The social bonds you've formed are literally wired into your pain processing systems. Connection is analgesic. Isolation amplifies pain. Throughout evolution, social connection meant access to care and resources during vulnerability. Your nervous system still treats loving relationships as protective, even against physical pain. In the face of someone who loves you, even in a photograph, your brain finds relief. Certain scents can improve sleep quality. Lavender is the most researched, but other scents like chamomile, jasmine, and sandalwood also show sleep-promoting effects. These aromas work partly through learned associations. If you've used lavender at bedtime repeatedly, your brain begins to connect that scent with sleep. But there also appear to be direct physiological effects. Lavender, for instance, seems to influence neurotransmitter systems involved in relaxation. Studies show that people who sleep in rooms with lavender scent experience deeper, more restorative sleep and wake feeling more refreshed. The effect is modest but reliable. Using scent as part of a bedtime routine can serve as a cue to your nervous system that sleep is approaching, helping trigger the cascade of changes that promote rest. Scent bypasses conscious processing and goes directly to emotional and memory centers. This makes it a powerful, subtle tool for shifting states. A few drops of essential oil on a pillow or a lavender sachet near the bed can become part of the architecture of sleep, a sensory signal that tells your body it's time to let go. Your brain can't tell the difference between vivid imagination and reality in some contexts. When you vividly imagine performing an action, many of the same neural pathways activate as when you actually do it. Athletes use this in mental rehearsal, imagining their performance in detail to improve actual execution. The brain treats the imagined experience as a kind of practice, strengthening the relevant neural circuits. This phenomenon can work against you too. Vividly imagining worst-case scenarios activates stress responses, as if those scenarios were happening. Your body responds to the imagined threat with real anxiety. Understanding this gives you some leverage. You can use visualization positively, imagining successful outcomes and desired states, essentially training your brain through imagination. But you also want to be careful with catastrophic thinking. The fears you rehearse mentally can feel and even become more real with repetition. Your imagination is not neutral entertainment. It's a powerful tool that shapes neural pathways and emotional states. What you consistently imagine, your brain begins to treat as real, for better or worse. Birdsong can reduce anxiety and paranoia. Natural sounds, particularly birdsong, have measurable effects on mental health. Studies show that listening to birds singing can reduce feelings of anxiety and paranoid thinking. The effect seems to come from the association between birdsong and safe, healthy environments. Birds sing most actively when conditions are good, when there's food, safety, and the possibility of thriving. Your brain may pick up on this unconsciously, using birdsong as an environmental cue that all is well. Urban environments, lacking these natural sounds, may miss this subtle signal of safety. Researchers found that even playing recordings of birdsong can improve mood and reduce stress, though being in actual nature is more powerful. The cheerful, varied patterns of birdsong provide auditory stimulation that engages attention without demanding it, similar to how nature views restore attention. In the complexity and beauty of bird calls, the mind finds a gentle anchor. Anxiety, which often involves scanning for threats, can ease when the environment signals safety through the music of birds going about their unconcerned lives. Acts of forgiveness benefit the forgiver most. Holding on to resentment requires ongoing mental and emotional energy. The body maintains a state of defensive vigilance. When you forgive, you're not saying what happened was okay. You're choosing to release the ongoing cost of carrying that resentment. Research shows that people who forgive experience lower blood pressure, better sleep, reduced anxiety and depression, and even stronger immune function. The health benefits of forgiveness accrue to the person who forgives, not the one forgiven. This is why forgiveness is fundamentally a gift to yourself. It's not about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from the past's continued grip. Forgiveness often happens gradually, through a process, rather than a single decision. You may need to choose it repeatedly as the hurt resurfaces. But each time you choose to release rather than rehearse the wound, you're creating a little more space for peace. In the end, forgiveness is recognizing that carrying the weight of resentment hurts you more than anyone else, and choosing to set it down. And so we come to the close of this gentle journey through the hidden patterns of the mind. We've wandered through discoveries about how light and color shape emotion, how the body and brain speak to each other in constant dialogue, and how the simplest acts, a slow breath, a walk among trees, a handwritten note, can ripple through your entire being. Each fact has been a small window, offering a glimpse into the remarkable architecture of your inner world. Perhaps you're still here, still listening, allowing these ideas to settle like snow on quiet ground. Or perhaps you've already drifted away, carried toward sleep by the rhythm of these words. Either way, the journey has served its purpose. The mysteries we've touched are always with you, waiting to be rediscovered. The mind is vast and strange and beautiful, a universe contained within your skull, generating every experience you'll ever have. In understanding even a small part of how it works, you've honored that complexity. You've paused to notice the invisible machinery that makes thought, feeling, and awareness possible. If sleep is calling, answer it. Let these gentle truths fade into the background, becoming part of the quiet landscape of rest. And if you are still awake, know that there's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. This moment, exactly as it is complete. The thoughts will come and go, the breath will continue its patient rhythm, and somewhere in the softness between attention and letting go, peace is waiting. Sleep well, and good night. And so we come to the close of this gentle journey through the hidden patterns of the mind. We've wandered through discoveries about how light and color shape emotion, how the body and brain speak to each other in constant dialogue, and how the simplest acts, a slow breath, a walk among trees, a handwritten note, can ripple through your entire being. Each fact has been a small window, offering a glimpse into the remarkable architecture of your inner world. Perhaps you're still here, still listening, allowing these ideas to settle like snow on quiet ground. Or perhaps you've already drifted away, carried toward sleep by the rhythm of these words. Either way, the journey has served its purpose. The mysteries we've touched are always with you, waiting to be rediscovered. The mind is vast and strange and beautiful, a universe contained within your skull, generating every experience you'll ever have. In understanding even a small part of how it works, you've honored that complexity. You've paused to notice the invisible machinery that makes thought, feeling, and awareness possible. If sleep is calling, answer it. Let these gentle truths fade into the background, becoming part of the quiet landscape of rest. And if you're still awake, know that there's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. This moment, exactly as it is complete. The thoughts will come and go. The breath will continue its patient rhythm. And somewhere in the softness between attention and letting go, peace is waiting. Sleep well and good night.